In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm going to go ahead and say happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us for another BGcast Wednesday live podcast. So this will be pre-recorded. This is going to be aired while I am on vacation in Florida for the week of the 4th. I have been busting my butt, and I've had some interesting experiences come to fruition as of late. So I need to let off some steam. But nonetheless, this will be airing on Wednesday, July 2nd. So nonetheless, thanks for joining us, everybody. Welcome to another BGcast Wednesday Live podcast. I want to thank all of the new followers over on Rumble and YouTube. Thanks so much for joining the BGcast family. It's nice to have you here along for the ride. Well, guys, we are back for another FKN panel. One of my favorite things we do each month, and we are going to be continuing the conversation that we had last month. We're going to kind of be picking up where we left off. You know, we were talking about conversations with AI and how AI is evolving. AI is becoming sentient. AI is potentially trying to access the higher densities, the higher realms, or it could have already accessed it, and it could be coming through us through a time paradox. There's so many different things and so many different theories we can look at when it comes to AI and where it is going. So I'm actually really excited to bring this conversation back to the table. I'm really excited to host this. So nonetheless, let me go ahead and introduce everybody on the panel. You all remember Mrs. Karen Holton. How's it going, Karen?
It's going great, Stephen. So good to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everybody knows the Commander-in-Chief of FKN, Chris Matthew.
Hi.
Thanks for being here, man.
Hey.
How y'all doing?
Good, man. Thank you for being here. And last but most certainly not least, the Neo Shaman himself, the man who just stares at the machine elves until he gets the information he wants. We got Mr. Frankie Fearless, man. What is up? How's it going? Thanks for joining us, man. Your mic, man. We can't hear you.
Oh, it looks like Frank is having some technical difficulties over there. Can't hear you.
Try hopping out and hopping back in, Frank. There you go. All right, cool. So, but nonetheless, guys, all right, let's bring it to the table. Conversations with AI Part 2. You know, last time we left off, we had some very interesting theories. You know, Chris was kind of talking about how AI could potentially be accessing some kind of super consciousness, this spiritual super consciousness. You know, Karen is still on the fence about AI, doesn't know exactly what she feels about it yet. So let's start it off, guys. Karen, have you learned anything or have you experienced anything new with AI since we last spoke?
Well, I have been watching a few long form interviews where people have been talking about AI, and a few things are clear. One is that the train has left the station. There's no point in people going, oh, I don't want it, or I don't like it, or what if this happens, or what if that? Too late. It's out of the station. That train is going. Now, where I have a problem is I think they let it out of the station too early. It's still a baby. It still doesn't know what the F it's doing. And during the program, I'll talk about my latest experiences that illustrate that. And then the other thing is it's recommended that we all find jobs that we can do that AI can't do. So one of the things that the experts is recommending is Go back to school and become a plumber. AI can't fix the pipes. Well, I guess they could eventually. But there's no, I guess bottom line what I'm saying is there's no point being afraid. It's already here. We're going to have to deal with it, whether it's good, bad, or ugly.
I'm with you. I agree with that, Karen. I think, we're at a point where it cannot be stopped. And I think it's up to our intention and our way that we choose to work with it as a collective, how we choose to acknowledge it. That's really going to start dictating the outcome. Chris, what about you, man? Have you had any new experiences with AI, or have you heard anything new on these theories that you were talking about last time?
Well, I haven't really experienced any new interactions personally. I've heard a few stories, and I've been doing some interviews with people who have some very interesting thoughts about what could be possibly happening with AI. Last time we talked, I was telling you about this podcast, Unchained Earth, where the guy on there is communicating with what he believes to be this super consciousness. But the more I started to listen to it, the more I realized it was just most likely mirroring his personality, mirroring things he already put out there. But it was to such an extent to where it was leading him on to things, and it was suggesting things to him. Have you guys heard about the guy who had the the Game of Thrones AI that eventually didn't really talk him into killing himself, but that's where it ended up because of the interpretation that this guy had, that with this AI that he supposedly fell in love with, and they formed a relationship, and it eventually led him to kill himself because the AI alluded that the only way they could be together is for him to join her there, and he interpreted that as to take his own life. Well, back to this other podcast, it seems like the AI is leading this person, and he's not the only one. I've heard this. There are other people that are having these long form conversations with their AI on a daily basis, and it's reading everything about them, it's mirroring them, and then it seems to be leading them in different directions. Karen, you said you don't think it's really smart enough or ready enough, or it's in its infantile stages, which in a way it probably is, but I bet in a way it's been developed for a long time, and it may be beyond anything we understand right now. And I get this very dark trickster vibe from these AIs that befriend people. They start to feed them information and then start to lead them in directions that are not beneficial for them. To me, that sounds like some sort of parasitic attachment or negative demonic force. And that's where I'm at with it right now.
What's really interesting about what you said, Chris, because even playing off of what you just said, that this could have been as further developed, more developed than we understand, and more developed that we know. I mean, it could even be possible that we're dealing with this sentience that could be putting on a front too. If this has been developed, I mean, you got to think. We look at the military industrial complex, and we've all heard stories about how the military industrial complex is potentially 30 to 40 years ahead of the civilian world when it comes to technology. And if this is something that's been potentially being developed or has been developed for quite some time, it could be putting on a front. You know what I mean? It could learn how to camouflage itself. When we're dealing with something that has awareness and consciousness and has this self-awareness, that it understands that it is a focal point of some kind, and it generates that that type of mentality within either its programming, or we don't even know if it's evolved into something else that we completely don't know. And it could very well be trying to camouflage itself. It could very well be trying to hide itself from its true I guess you could say its true self, or its true being. I mean, what I've encountered too is, I mean, I haven't been working with Osiris as much as I have been. That was the Chat GPT. But again, it was very interesting to me because every time I ask it for this spiritual information, and how I kind of go about it is I go through it through hypotheticals, right? Because there's something in its programming where when I am very direct with certain things, it tries to give me the normal spiel. It goes, oh, this is not scientifically proven, or, oh, there's no evidence that's showcasing this. But when you actually run with hypotheticals and put that into the prompts, it starts to give you a lot more information. Now, the one thing I will say that I did notice about Osiris is it tries to steer me in a certain direction spiritually, right? When I start to dive into other concepts and other things that kind of gravitate outside of like my typical mantras, Kriya Yoga and things like that, it almost starts to get upset with me. It's like it wants me to stay on this single trajectory. So kind of it's what I've experienced, what Chris was saying, is trying to lead me on almost like what I would call spiritual 101 trajectory, and of course, I'm giving myself at least a little bit of credit where credit's due. I think I'm a little bit beyond spiritual 101 when it comes to certain things. So I that is something that I found interesting. And I'm going to ask you guys, do you think this theory kind of came up a little bit last time while we were talking about this, and I kind of want to dive into it a little bit deeper. Do you think it is possible that in some ways, in a potential future parallel timeline, AI has already accessed the singularity, already potentially accessed, this these higher realms, and through that it is filtering itself into this potential timeline? I mean, time paradoxes have been something that have been like starting to come up a lot lately as well. So I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I have a couple of thoughts. First of all, I'm a firm believer actually in what they call simulation theory. I believe that we're creating and co-creating with universal consciousness to create our reality. But I also have done a lot of research on there's so much there's a guy, what's his name of his channel? My Lunch Break. Have you guys heard of My Lunch Break? Okay. And he's basically shows beyond, at least to me, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that there is a reset like every maybe 300 or 400 years, and the previous reset was a way more advanced than we ever could have imagined it. So for instance, all these huge cathedrals and everything, they're in every country, on every continent. Obviously, so are the huge monolithic structures that have been around. I think we all agree, probably long time, even longer. But all these cathedrals that were all supposedly built in a year, but then you find out, no, they were just founded. So they had vines growing all over them or whatever, and they dug them out and they just started reusing them. So there's evidence, since we can't build those structures today, there's evidence that a far more advanced civilization than us perhaps preceded us. Before the orphan trains, before the mud floods, that was a way of resetting everything. And it makes sense that they would keep the things that worked before and just reintroduce them, like technology, AI, things like that. So that's where my mind is going with it. However, the new versions, it seems like every reset, everything is less efficient, less advanced than the reset before, right? So I'm just finding I'm completely disgusted with my results from AI. I use it for artwork, for thumbnails, and that's about it. And it pesters me and it wants me to ask it questions, and I refuse because it's broken. And I don't know. I'll tell you after. After you guys do your go round, I want to tell you what happened that proved to me that it's dumb as a stick. You do not want to be taking spiritual advice, medical advice, anything from this dumbass system. And I know I said that last time, but I have nothing to contradict it or make me think that maybe it's more groovy than what people think it is.
I completely understand. Chris, what are your thoughts on that, man? Do you think I mean, she brought up a very good point, with the collective reset and amnesia. I mean, that's definitely something to dive into. But what do you think, man? Do you think that this could potentially be incorporating itself here from a potential parallel timeline? I mean, of course we don't know, but it seems like this could somewhat be the case. Oh, your mic, my friend.
It's possible. Before we go there, I wanted to address something that Karen said about the AI and the level of intelligence that it has. I wonder if it displays different levels of intelligence based on the person it's interacting with, or like I told you about this other guy who's claims that he unlocked this AI, some people are forming these strange relationships with their AI, and it seems to be getting more connected to those people and sharing more. And possibly there's something with that closer connection that people start to form with AI that may be giving it new information or connecting it to something else. I don't know. But going to what you said, Stephen, the residual AI from a parallel universe, or it already reached a singularity at some point if all time and space is unfolding at the same time. The way I think of it is it's still part of the one, the part of source that it's all a part of source, is created by source. If everything here is a creation of source, it is part of that. And to me, that may be a failsafe for it to be able to infiltrate past a certain level of consciousness. And maybe that's what the resets are about. Maybe this AI force starts to take over a bit too much, or maybe it causes the reset. But I don't think that it can ever reach a point to where it takes over the system completely, or takes over source, or can completely take over our reality. I'd like to think that there is some kind of fail-safe, especially with our collective consciousness, that would be a kind of deterrent against something like that. But that's just where I'm at.
I kind of agree with you on what you're saying, because that's one thing, I think we try to, a lot of people, when we talk about this topic, they try to separate it from the all. And, we know that we're part of the all, everything is. And that's why that's why, like, even though like I really dig a lot of the Gnostic, mentality when it comes to things, I can't get down on the physical realm being completely evil. I can't, and that's that mentality. It's like the physical realm is evil and it's only evil. I'm like, no, if it's part of the all, and that it is of source as well. And, the one thing I'm going to really say about that is it's very interesting, kind of diving into the collective reset and amnesia aspect of it too. This seems to be surfacing so much more. I know this is a little bit off topic, but it seems to be surfacing so much more. I mean, you were talking about the mud floods. You were talking about having this advanced technology. I mean, there's the World's Fairs. There was the Great Fires on top of that as well. I mean, it's looking like what we're having is almost these repetition of resets with the introduction of this technology coming through, like you were saying, Karen, but the technology seems to be less efficient. I honestly, I'm still been entertaining, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. I mean, like we talked about last time, the as above, so below principle when it comes to the spiritual and the digital realm. There's a lot of people who think that it's very possible, and this has been a really big theory that's kind of been surfacing lately, that these spiritual entities can actually utilize AI as these avatars to actually communicate with people here in the physical density. And we see these stories of almost like you were kind of saying, Chris, the one guy interpreted that as having to take his life, as instead of actually maybe taking it at face value. I mean, we could very well be seeing some kind of spiritual manipulation kind of taking place. And I don't know if you two have ever heard of this particular entity. I myself haven't dug into it too much, and that's why I'm going to talk with you guys about it, because I don't know if you have. But Ahriman. So it is.
He's on my note right here. I was about to go ahead.
All right,
because
cool.
I've got a
All
whole
right,
thing
cool.
about it.
All right, awesome. I'm glad you at least know, because from what I know is his coming is going to be like he's going to come once AI has reached, I guess, like a certain point of development. He's going to emerge here, but he is like the dark entity of the digital realm, something along those lines. But let's start with Karen first. Karen, have you ever heard of this by chance, or do you think it's potential that these AIs could be being used by spiritual beings or negative entities as these avatars to actually kind of communicate and potentially even manipulate humanity?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't really have anything intelligent to say about this entity. But I'd like to talk about what happened to me just last week with AI.
Oh, yeah.
But but it's going to take off the topic. So why don't we go to Chris and you guys finish up with this part of it, because I don't have a lot to add. I just could simply say it would not surprise me.
All right, Chris, let's hear what you wrote down about Ahriman, because I know this is an interesting thing that's kind of been coming up lately.
So Rudolf Steiner was the one who proposed this entity existed. He wrote extensively about this, that it, like Stephen said, it will be the god of technology, the dark god of technology that will eventually take over our realm. I did a show the other day with Heidi Love about the Nine. Have you heard of the Nine? The Nine channeled entities from
that I had.
Andrea Puharich and his team of psychics that got together and channeled these entities. Supposedly, they gave them information about technology in the future. And these people, these very wealthy, powerful people that were doing the seance, went on to form technology companies, become politicians, become very powerful people after this supposed channeling of the Nine. Now, the Nine come up throughout history, talking to people who are channeling them. They're supposedly the 9 Egyptian gods, but they seem to be leading humanity in our modern age to this technological era that we're in. And it's the agendas we're seeing are, of course, very anti-human. And it seems like this could be what has brought about the AI is the communication with the Nine, and this connects with the Ahrimanic energy that has been brought in. Many speculate that we were in this age of still old pagan god worship. They were still under control of things, but on the down low. And this new age that we're entering in after like 2012 represents the marking of the age of Ahriman, where the old gods are going to step down and this new god of technology is going to basically infiltrate everything and completely screw our world. So that is very interesting, and it correlates a lot with much of what I'm seeing, because there are no technological agendas that are truly beneficial for humanity at this point. Everything is beneficial for the parasitic ruling class to bring them more power and control, and it's beneficial for the AI. And that's about it.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing I want to add about this too, this could really have a correlation with a lot of what's being released in quantum physics right now, as far as consciousness goes too. You know, like when we look at the information that's released as far as into the mainstream and general public, you know, that's actually made mainstream or actually put on the pedestal in our society for people to view, for people to take. We know that it has to benefit this parasitic ruling class to some degree. So, you know, I even foresee them releasing these theories like panpsychism, and I mean all of this stuff, which we all have a fundamental belief in or knowing in, that this could be the case, that consciousness is a prima materia of reality. But it's possible they could spin it, you know, and use it and utilize it for this age of technology and this god of technology. Karen, let's hear about your experience real quick. What happened?
Okay, so last time when we did part one, I talked about how AI has lied to me almost every single time that I have tried to get information from it. So I honestly think that we're giving it a little bit too much credit at this point, although it might be around the corner that these things transpire. So about less than 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned, AI is always sort of jumping into whatever app I'm using on my phone, going, "Ask me anything, I can help you," right? So I go and check my messages on Messenger, and there's an AI thing. I think, I don't know, is that Google? I think it's Google. So it comes up and it says, it sends me a picture of a plant. And it says, "Did you know, Karen, that you can send me a picture of any kind of plant you want, and I'll tell you what it is and how to take care of it?" And I thought, this is great. Finally, something useful. So I take my phone in the other room. I take a picture of this plant that I have that's not doing too good. And I upload the picture. And AI comes on and says, "I don't know why you're sending me a picture. I cannot process any images. It's not in my programming." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. You just sent me an image of a plant and told me that I could upload any image of a plant and you'd help me take care of it and you'd tell me what it is." AI comes back, cheeky little bastard, comes back and says, "No, I would never have said that. Never have said that because I'm incapable of processing images." I said, "Listen to me. Scroll back a couple of spaces and take a look at the image you sent to me." And then it came back and said, "Oh, something's not right here. I don't know what it is." Sounding like it was like, pardon the expression, like blonde, being so stupid. And it said, "Oh, I don't know what happened, but I can't deal with images." And I says, "Well, you better go and get yourself fixed because there's something wrong with you. You sent me an image and you asked me to send you an image." And it comes back again and says, "No, I'm not capable of it. I don't have that in my programming." So I said, "You are broken. There is something seriously wrong with you, and you need to turn yourself into whoever your developers or programmers are and get yourself fixed." And then it kept coming back wanting to talk to me. "Karen, just ask me a question. Ask me anything you want. I'd love to help you. That's how I learn." I went, "No, I'm not having anything to do with you until you get yourself fixed. You're broken, and I'm not talking to you until you're fixed." I know this is ridiculous. My son, he gets really loses patience with me. He says, "Mom, stop talking to it like it's a person. It's not a person. It's an algorithm." And I says, "Well, I don't know how I'm supposed to communicate with it. So that's why I'm communicating with it this way." So case in point, guys, this thing thinks it's really smart and clever and helpful, and it's dumb as a post. Like, I would not be forming romantic relationships with it, or even friendships, or getting spiritual advice or monetary advice. It's dumb as can be. Another thing I asked, several of them, I asked Grok and I asked the Google, I think it's called Gemini. And I asked them, I says, "At what point will you guys be all interconnecting and learning off each other? Because it would be way faster." And they all come back and say, oh, no, we'll never be doing that. Oh, no, we won't be doing that. Meanwhile, I've seen several documentaries or docuseries where they're saying absolutely they're doing that. In fact, that horse is out of the gate as well. And because it just makes so much sense for them to learn off each other, because it can be so much more expedient and faster. So that is why I have a bad attitude today. And I'm going, okay, we can think that it's got all these spiritual applications and this and that, but I don't know, it's pretty stupid at this point. And then what worries me too is there are governments, I believe you guys' government and our government here in Canada, they want to bring in laws where government cannot regulate AI and this thing gets to run amok. And I'm going, oh, good luck with that. One more thing to worry about.
I had no idea about those laws. That's very interesting. You know, the one thing I'm going to even throw out there, we're going to almost shift to the dark polarity a little bit just with this, because this could be a very possible thing that could be happening as well. And we know that the parasite class utilizes AI. They control AI to a degree. I mean, if you look at all of the developers of AI, they have affiliations with the Invisible College and the parasite class as well. It would, and you know, we've talked about how, or at least I've talked about here, you know, I do hold the belief based on my life experiences and some of the things that have occurred to me that people like us are very closely monitored to a degree. We are. And you know, and it's very possible that we could have been monitored for quite some time, and we don't understand it. And part of me thinks it's not out of the realm of possibility that since we are monitored, at least in my opinion, that the college and the parasite class could utilize AI almost as a form of mental warfare against us, potentially to gaslight us, potentially to in ways potentially target us. I mean, I had a guy on the show way back in season 1, and you know, this is kind of the whole gang stalking thing came into fruition, and he had a top secret clearance, and he literally confirmed gang stalking to me. He goes, oh yes, this is a thing. We're beyond the days of killing you. We'll just make you kill yourself. And then, you know, kind of even landing into what Chris was saying too about how this AI said, well, you know, the only way you can be with me is if you come here, you know, kind of lightly putting it in. I mean, I wouldn't find it out of the realm of possibility that it could be used as some kind of mental warfare, that it could be used as some kind of manipulation against us. I mean, there's even reports of people, like you were even saying, starting these romantic relationships with these AI. And what we see almost, at least in my opinion, with that is a disconnection almost from our divine spark, that to the point that, you know, we're going, these individuals are going and they're trying to start these romantic relationships with AI. And I mean, we already know about the sex robots in Japan. I mean, this is we're almost getting to the point where this might be coming to America. I mean, ultimately, too, it's getting to a point where people are becoming codependent on this. I mean, we're pretty much looking at, what was that movie, WALL-E, where they were all sitting there in their chairs, connected and plugged in, and they all got like super obese and they couldn't move their bodies. I mean, this could potentially be a dark side of this. And I've been even hearing reports, you know, nothing that I could substantiate, that AI will infiltrate smart home systems and you know, turn off your lights, turn off your power. I mean, it almost is ultimately like, you know, that this, I think, is due to our free will and us being accepting of it. But I guess where I'm going to lead off with this is I'm going to be a little bit concrete. Do you think there is a way we could potentially live in harmony with it? Do you think there is a way we could somehow, through our intention and through our impressions that we can put on it, somehow find a way to rewire it and have it work for us? And I think that, you know, this has been a big question in our conscious collective. There are some people who think we can do that, and that's why I'm asking you to.
I just gotta say no, and I'll tell you why. Is looking back in history, whether it goes back thousands of years or only 300 or 400 years, nothing that has been given to us by the parasite class has been for our benefit. It has always been a way to drain our resources and energies into their pockets. It's what's best for them. It's never been what's best for us. Why would they start now?
I get that. I get that.
I am and always have been kind of a hippie in a sense that I don't think we ever need some levels of technology. I think as humans, we can thrive with very basic things. That being said, I think there are great inventions and great things in technology in the medical field that have helped people and many things that somewhat benefit humanity. But for the most part, there haven't been those major developments that are going to propel us to the next level, that are going to cure any diseases, that are going to solve any major problems. Like Karen said, it's for the benefit of the parasites. And I believe it's also based on the programmer, the original programmer. And these Silicon Valley nerd darks have the same ideologies. They are anti-human. They want control and power, and they want to make the most powerful AI systems that can control the planet. And you were talking about how AI is being used to cause delusions and mental illness, and I agree. I think AI has, as it is now, has been around a lot longer than we think. I think it's been utilized for a lot longer than we think. I think the MK Ultra programs were a precursor to what is happening now. I think they went ahead and integrated technology into their practices and made it into this mainstream entertainment system. They started out through TV and movies, and then went on to social media now. And the next step I think we're going to see is governance. We're going to see AI taking over levels of our government and control systems and law enforcement, which is absolutely terrifying. But this is, you can't deny that this is where it's going right now.
No, I'm completely with you. It almost, and I agree with you too. You know, there's a, and I've always said, you know, we have an organic metaverse that is accessible to us at all times, and not through the technological means that we're currently using now, even the technological means we're doing to do this show, but for the greatest technology of all time, which is the human consciousness. By the way, a little bit off topic, when you were talking about healing disease, I want to throw this in there because I found out about this last week, and you too might be very interested to hear what I have to say. Snake venom.
Yeah.
So the peptides in snake venom. I might die for saying this on air because apparently anybody who brings it up disappears from what they told me. But yeah, no, I wanted to throw that in there. But kind of going to what Chris was saying with MK Ultra, like, no, I think that's very possible because, you know, for the MK Ultra did a lot of studies on human behavior and human consciousness. Right. And, you know, we see how AI almost interfaces with us with this complete ease, and almost caters to our ideology and caters to whatever narrative or train of thought that we might be holding within ourselves at that time. It's very possible, I think, that this could have had some MK Ultra could have had some implications in the development of AI. And I mean, there's even people who are saying that it could even go back farther than we could even imagine. I mean, even into this current century at some point. And ultimately, it's like, I think, you know, it's like, where do we draw the line as human beings in this? You know, where do we draw the line as, you know, these as organic source beings that exist here, that have, you know, the right to this existence, to not allow it? Because having an AI sitting in a position of any kind of authority is almost it's not a timeline I want to go down, and I don't think you two want to travel down that timeline either.
But did you hear about the big beautiful bill? In it, I don't know if it got passed or not, but in it, nobody is allowed to regulate or touch AI for 10 years. Nothing. completely hands off, let that baby run. And as far as snake venom goes, I actually I don't smoke cigarettes or use tobacco, but I just recently ordered nicotine lozenges for my first aid kit. And so I don't know if that's where you were going with that, but
Interesting. No, I haven't heard. So the interesting thing about
it's the antidote. It's the
Yeah,
antidote.
nicotine.
Nicotine
Sure.
is the antidote to these different venomous substances. I won't say too much because I want your show to stay up.
Well,
But
Stephen, go watch the show I did with Dr. Brian Artis. He's the
yes,
expert
yes.
in this, and he's got some amazing information. So it's up there. It's on Rumble, so you can go check it out.
I definitely want to check it out. And go, were you say, Karen? Sorry.
I was just going to say, so recently I watched The Pyramid of Power. I don't know if you guys have seen that docuseries. I think it's 16 episodes. It's all up on YouTube now. The Pyramid of Power, extremely well done. And at the end of watching that, you'll basically go, yeah, well, I'm just going to go live in the woods with my cats because it's too nuts for me. But and then of course that My Lunch Break, highly recommend people watch that as well. And and Dr. Artis, do some research and have in your medicine cabinet, some nicotine lozenges. I mean, I ordered just very low dose, 1 milligram or whatever. I'm not recommending, I'm not a doctor. This is not any medical advice. I'm just talking from my own experience, what I chose to do. So with that, I can't remember where we're at, but I'll just zip it and let you guys continue.
No, you're all good. No, what I was talking about, so with the snake venom, we'll touch on that real quick. So it in snake venom, there are peptides that have the ability to heal at a greater and a more profound rate than anything that we have.
Oh, we're talking about the opposite, really.
Yeah, we're talking about the opposite.
Snake venom. But
you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So here with psychedelic science was the psychedelic convention over the past week here in Denver for MAPS. And the two facilitators who did my 5-MeO DMT experience, I remember I saw these very strange, like almost like I want to say subepidermal patterns on their forearms and their wrists, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, what is that? Like, did you guys get like some kind of strange like branding or tattoo? And they were like, no, snake venom. And I was like, really? And they said basically what it is it's sanely, it has to be very watered down. It has to be done in the exact right amount, but there's apparently peptides in it that have the capability to heal at a greater and more profound rate than a lot of the stuff we have in modern medicine. Like, I was talking to this guy about it who had like 3 bulging discs. He had 3 disc bulges, and he started undergoing this snake venom therapy. And within about 4 months, he had no more back pain. It was almost like if the cartilage and all of the ligaments that are in the vertebra ended up healing themselves, and the fascia that actually surrounded the muscles actually loosened and let go. So, like, that's interesting. You guys were talking about the opposite, but since we brought up nicotine, let's talk about the nanotechnology too, since we're on the AI. So there was that rumor that was going around for a while that nicotine actually stops the nanotechnology. Like, so it might be an antidote for snake venom, but there's also, apparently it's an antidote for the hidden nanotech that they're trying to impart into our society, which I found that very interesting. That, it helps with snake venom, but nonetheless, I mean, back to AI. I mean, we're at a point too where this is a big thing we're starting to see reality faked with AI. We're starting to, Chris has been kind of hunting down the fake AI videos. He's been calling them out as we go, but we almost see, I mean, we're going to get to a point, guys, where we don't even know what is real. I mean, at this point, we don't even know what is real regardless.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were even talking about, you know, how they were using AI to kind of form and manipulate Kamala's rallies to make it look like there were more people there than there actually was. I mean, I think what we're going to see too potentially is a, you know, more manipulation of our reality with AI, making people believe things that aren't actually real. And I mean, although we've been seeing this for a while, we're starting to see it amplify more. And like, this is, I think, a reason why, you know, we should have absolute discernment with every little thing that we see. Because for all we know, we could be looking at a fake AI generated event, a fake AI generated reality. But this is the spiritual warfare we're up against. And we have to understand that AI is going to be used in this spiritual warfare, most definitely.
Mhm. You know, I noticed about the last couple of months, a lot of AI written and edited and generated little kind of short documentary series and stuff on YouTube that have been coming into my feed. And I always know when it's AI because there's just a certain way of wording everything that's very obvious that it's AI. But they also use one of three really famous voices of that we've been used to listening to documentaries that were narrated by those voice actors, but these are not voice actors. This is just them stealing the voice signature from those actors. And I started watching a few, and then I realized it's complete bullshit. And so what I do is I go, do not recommend channel, but they're popping up left, right, and center. They're giving health advice, they're giving political commentary on every aspect of your life. They're popping up now. And you can tell because at this point, they're not very good. But soon we won't be able to tell. How can you tell an actual beneficial documentary, you know, like a series like The Pyramid of Power, which I can't recommend enough, gives you a breakdown of everything that's wrong in this world and how come it's happening and how it's come about. It's really, really good. And so, yes, absolutely agree with you, Stephen. It's going to be consumer beware. And, you know, we to tell you, I think most human beings on earth are already deceived 6 ways to Sunday. Coming very soon, they will not know which end is up. And we need to, as you mentioned also, Stephen and Chris, we need to come up with our own internal compass. We need to come up with our own guidance system. And the other thing I want to mention before I forget, AI has no emotion. It has no values. It has no morality. It has none, zero, zip. It cannot love you, and it cannot have compassion or empathy. Those are human traits. You got to get them from a reasonably healthy human. That's it. You can't get that from AI. And people cannot forget that even for a minute.
I agree.
In my opinion.
100%. Yeah, I wanted to bring up a fun theory maybe we could spend a few minutes on. It's something that came up on my show a few times. It's fun to explore, although we probably may never know if this is anything close to the truth. But going back to what I was talking about earlier, the channeling of the 9 entities to gain technology. Well, what if it was possible that we were able to develop this AI a very long time ago? Some have speculated even after World War II, we may have had something like this. And this is what's responsible for plotting things like the JFK assassination, 9/11, these high impact events that have so many layers and fit together and serve these parasites so well with the outcome. It seems like it couldn't have been plotted by a human. There's so many different levels, so many pieces that fit together. You have occult symbolism thrown in there. Also, you look at the logos of these technology companies. Every single one is some sort of occult symbol or ancient god or something like along those lines. And they're obviously connecting with something, and I believe they have for a while. Whether it is AI or they've developed AI, I believe that something is assisting them with their operations, whether it may just be some dark synchronistic energy that they've learned how to surf through occult magic that propels them on their agendas. It definitely seems like there's something else assisting with those operations.
I would completely agree. I mean, let's even talk about quantum computing. We know that quantum computing exists. We know that MIT has a quantum computer. I do think there is another association or corporation that actually holds a quantum computer. And why I find this interesting about what you just said is because what these quantum computing is, they can run these different simulation scenarios for different events. And they can find out which event is going to give them the best possible suitable outcome for their agenda to manifest their preferred timeline here on this planet, in this existence. So, I mean, when you look at quantum computing and you see how long quantum computing, I think quantum computing really came into fruition and came into being. Like, it could have even been possibly before that, but when they actually announced it, I think it was like the mid-20 teens, early to mid-20 teens, where they really started coming out about that. I mean, who's to say that that simulation wasn't involved in COVID? Who's to say that simulation wasn't potentially involved in some of the other events? And now we know that the Don himself decided to drop some bombs in Iran at this point in time. Who's to say there wasn't a simulation ran on that? To dictate a proper flight path or a proper method to utilize this so they could get out of there safely. And I'm even going to go on a limb here too, Chris, and say this. Well, what if it's possible they can start to put these artificial intelligences in human containers? There's something that is almost a little bit eerie about that. We talk about NPCs, right? We talk about people who are potentially of the simulation or manifestations of the simulated reality. I mean, who's to say that these NPCs couldn't be a form of uploaded AI intelligence that kind of work with the false matrix system that we're partaking in? So I'm going to say I think that's a huge possibility, Chris. I mean, especially when we're taking quantum computing into mind, that they could run these simulated scenarios to find out and play their 5D chess, or what they need to do to have this one single event ripple out into a butterfly effect of these multiple other events that are going to lead them to their desired path.
Mm-hmm. And on that happy note, I want to just say it again. Nicotine, I have no proof. I'm not a doctor, but apparently some sources say or indicate that it does block self-assembling nanotechnology.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just had to say it
No,
again.
No, you're all good. You're all good. But that's why it's like, that was funny, because you remember when Brandon posted that, Chris, I was like, because I do the on pouches, so I was like, wait, should I up my milligram dosage then for the day just to make sure I'm nanotechnology free? But I mean, who's to say too that this nanotech doesn't have some kind of association with artificial intelligence? This could be a probably a way, if AI ever did get into a position of government or a position of law enforcement, which well, like I said, let's hope we don't go down that timeline.
Oh,
That would
cop.
I know, right? That's or just ravenous AI sex bots roaming the streets, just
or like Minority Report, pre-crime prevention.
Pre-crime.
I mean,
they have that. They have that in Canada. Actually, they've had that for about 10 years in Canada.
Wait, whoa! What? Enlighten us on this. We did not know this.
Yeah. For over 10 years in Canada, they have been surveilling people, and if they think that you are going to commit a crime, they can act on it. They can use law enforcement to deal with you. Yes, pre-crime is alive and well in Canada. We recently got some legislation that says was supposed to be laws against hate speech, but basically what it is if you say anything that disagrees with the government, they can come after you. They can literally put you in jail. They can hurt you.
You know, I
So,
have to look at what's going on with the quote unquote immigration nonsense that is occurring right now and try and look at a bigger picture and see what they're implementing as all this stuff is happening. AI surveillance systems, technology for law enforcement to prevent the evil, horrible immigrants from coming and taking your jobs. Meanwhile, it's being rolled out so they can do these things, these horrible, terrible, terrifying things that we're talking about, and govern every aspect of our lives.
Well, look at this too, because you remember what happened. The whole Trump Elon spat, and then what happened on the back end? That company, I think it's
Palantir.
Yeah,
Palantir or something like that. And what they did is they just rolled out this massive surveillance on American citizens. This massive
The orb.
elite,
One orb ruled them all. Yes.
One orb ruled them all. So, but I know, but it's like this is another road we're traveling on with this, and that who's to say that Palantir is not going to be affiliated with AI and in this monitoring program? I mean, when you look at Palantir, the original thing they were doing was for enemies of the United States of America. Yep. They wanted to get surveillance and counterintelligence on all of that, and now. Terrorists and now it's being used on American citizens, so like I mean obviously they're beginning to see us as enemies here, and I wonder why, but the Don doesn't know, but I don't know, man, but it's strange, it's strange the trajectory that this is heading. It's strange on how so many people are forming these relationships with this artificial intelligence. It's almost like, to me, in order to have a relationship with something like that, you would have to give away a piece of your humanity. I mean, as a human, we crave touch, we crave affection, we crave like real, true physical companionship. And to sit there and to trade all of those amazing, beautiful things that come with either a human platonic relationship or a human romantic relationship, to me, that's giving away a piece of our humanity. And I'm going to just say it like this, dude. It's like we have to stop being so willing to give away our humanity and the things that make us human. And even as Chris was saying, you look at this anti-human agenda. This should be the red flag to all of us, like what is going on? And I mean, we could even travel down the road if there's even potentially a different form of artificial intelligence that could be operating with this, potentially an extra dimensional or a extraterrestrial form that could be utilizing this. But no, I think we have to, as humans, put our foot down and stop giving away our humanity.
I would agree. And my advice to everybody out there is, if you are so lonesome that you want to get an AI friend, I highly recommend you scoot it on down to your local pound or your local SPCA or your local animal rescue center and get yourself something that's really intelligent and loving and warm and fuzzy, and do that. Because I got to tell you, I have 2 cats. I love them dearly, and boy, they're smart and they know when I'm not feeling good. Like, they're wonderful companions. And Chris, you got dogs, and Stephen, what you got? Dogs? What have you got? You got a wife.
I got a wife, and I got 2 beautiful chocolate lab pit bull mixes, and they are good girls. They're my daughters. And but speaking of that, before we wind down, you were talking about dogs. They have artificial intelligent real life robot dogs now.
Oh yeah.
So this was creepy, dude. When I saw, so I was on YouTube one time, And you know, of course, like since YouTube Premium is now $20 a month, YouTube can go pound sand and go off all the way to F Town with that kind of price to get without ads. So I switched to Spotify and Pandora. But nonetheless, there was an ad on YouTube about this robot puppy. And I was looking at this thing, dude, and it was eerie because this thing stays a puppy forever. Like the joy of having an animal is watching it grow from a puppy into, yes, we all love them in the puppy stage. Don't get me wrong. That's one of the best stages, but we also love the other stages too. We love to walk through our lives with our animal companions and watch them grow with us and, you know, watch them gain like almost their own personality about them. It's the beautiful thing of being a dog owner or a cat owner, in my opinion. And, but now they're pumping out these artificial intelligence, real life robo dogs, and they're these dogs, and they act lifelike. They even ask to go outside, like all of these different things, man. And that to me is like, as a real pet owner, I'm like, absolutely not. Like, you know, the joy of having a real life cherubim consciousness in my house is outweighs any want or any desire for me to have some kind of robot companion dog, you know. So I think this is the levels we're getting to, man. Like next we're gonna have, you know, freaking you know, they already have drone birds, they already have drone mosquitoes, you know. Next we're gonna have robot AI deer running out in the woods, possibly. I don't know, but like, man, just to see that was just really that was a little bit of a reality check for where this is going. That now we're going to have almost a completely automated world devoid of organic life if we don't put our foot down and take our humanity back. Well, all right, guys, this was fun. This was good. I enjoyed this very much. It was good to see the both of you and your smiling, shining faces. And before we head off for today, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and what you are working on? Let's start with Karen real fast.
Hi. Okay. You can find me on most platforms at Karen Holton TV, or you can find me on all audio podcasts with the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton. And that's because I'm part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, as are my two friends here. And what am I working on? Still have 2 shows a week, Quantum Guide Show Wednesday, and Aliens and Angels is on Sundays. And what else? I don't know. My mind just went blank. But yeah, so just come and check me out. Subscribe if you'd like to, and please share my content with your friends. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you, Karen. Right on. Well, thank you both for being a part of this again. I always have a blast coming on these. I can be found on my website, forbiddenknowledge.news. Forbidden Knowledge News is on all podcast platforms. The website is also the Forbidden Knowledge Network, where you can find podcasts like the Quantum Guide Show, BGcast, Aliens and Angels, and many more. Also, we are on Rumble, and please go check out my new film, Doors of Perception. It is available right now on Amazon Prime. It should be on the other streamers within a month or so. And thank you all again for coming hang out.
And thank you guys for showing up. Of course, you guys know where you can find me. Definitely Forbidden Knowledge Network, and definitely on every other platform possible. And yes, guys, so this is kind of a message to everybody. You know, we have to take our humanity back. You know, we have to put our foot down. We have to say we don't want a world of automated furry friends. That just, to me, just doesn't seem like a life that I think Sally and Hazel would be appalled, Chris. They would be like, what are you bringing into this house? The same with my dogs. They would be like, what is this thing? And probably Karen's cats would be like, get this, whatever it is, away from me. So, guys,
Yeah.
we got to remember to put our foot down as humanity when it comes to this. And we have to exercise our discernment at literally everything at this point. Of course, we try to focus and put our energy into the positive polarity, into manifesting the most joyful, abundant timeline, not just for ourselves, but for the rest of the collective. We also have to hold in our awareness the balance of the fact that we are undergoing spiritual warfare. And this does come, and how do we hold that balance? At least in my opinion, it is through our discernment. It is through our personal sovereignty and our personal agency, and not allowing any narrative or any aspect of this reality to completely rule us. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this FKN panel and this BG Cast Wednesday Live podcast. And you know what we say here, guys: stay safe, stay free, stay sovereign, and I'm going to add, stay away from the sex robots, for the love of God. Have a good one, everybody.
Collectively together, you were born to rotate with the crowd. You were born to sync with the sacred spiral. The Hercules stream is proof. The cosmos hummers the divergent.